In the vast halls of Olympus and the mortal realms below, few names echo with such raw power as Hercules. Known to the Greeks as Heracles, he was born of two worlds, divine and human. Son of Zeus and the mortal woman Alcmene, Hercules was gifted with immense strength, courage, and vitality, but greatness rarely comes without pain. The queen of the gods, Hera, driven by jealousy, saw Hercules not as a hero but a reminder of Zeus's unfaithfulness. In a moment of divine wrath, she cast a madness upon Hercules. Under her spell, he did something unspeakable, something that would haunt him forever. When he awoke from his haze, he found tragedy in its purest form. To atone for what he had done, Hercules sought guidance from the Oracle of Delphi. There, he was told he must serve King Eurystheus of Tiryns and complete 12 impossible tasks. Only then could he cleanse his soul. Thus began the greatest saga of redemption the world has ever known, the 12 labors of Hercules. The first challenge was to slay the Nemean Lion, a beast unlike any other, its golden fur impervious to weapons, its claws sharper than swords. Hercules ventured into the dense forests of Nemea, where fear silenced the trees. He tracked the lion to its cave, a lair with 2 openings. Realizing conventional weapons would fail, he blocked one entrance and entered through the other. The battle was brutal. Hercules wrestled the beast with his bare hands. Muscles strained, bones cracked, but finally, with sheer strength and divine endurance, he choked the lion into submission. With its hide, he crafted a cloak, a symbol of his triumph, and carried the body back to Eurystheus. The king, terrified at the sight, began issuing future orders from behind a bronze jar, fearing Hercules more than the beasts he sent him to destroy. Next was the Hydra, a venomous serpent with multiple heads. For each one cut off, 2 would grow in its place. In the swamps of Lerna, Hercules met the monstrous creature. As he swung his sword, heads fell only to return stronger. Realizing the cycle, he summoned his nephew, Iolaus, to help. Together, they formed a strategy. Hercules would sever a head, and Iolaus would burn the stump with a torch to prevent regrowth. Eventually, all heads were destroyed, except the immortal one. Hercules crushed it beneath a massive stone and dipped his arrows in the Hydra's deadly blood, creating weapons of divine lethality. This time, the task was not to kill, but to capture, a golden horned deer sacred to Artemis. Fast as the wind and elusive as dreams, the Ceryneian hind dwelled in the forests of Arcadia. Hercules chased the deer for a full year across plains and rivers, never once drawing his bow. At last, as the deer paused to drink, Hercules captured it gently in a net. When Artemis confronted him, Hercules explained it was not by choice but penance. Moved by his humility, she allowed him to carry the hind to Eurystheus. So long as it was returned unharmed, high in the snowy mountains lived a colossal boar, furious and unstoppable. Hercules ascended the peaks of Mount Erymanthus and lured the beast into thick snowdrifts. Using the terrain to his advantage, he wrestled and bound the beast. He then dragged it down the mountain, its squeals echoing through the valleys. Eurystheus, once again terrified, begged him to remove the creature at once. For this labor, Hercules was tasked not with bloodshed but with humility, cleaning the stables of King Augeas, home to thousands of immortal cattle and untouched for decades. Rather than scoop the waste by hand, Hercules diverted 2 mighty rivers, Alpheus and Peneus, to wash the filth away in a single day. Though Augeas tried to cheat him of his reward, justice would come later. Eurystheus, angered by the use of ingenuity, tried to disqualify this labor, but Hercules marched on. Sent to Crete, Hercules was to capture the mighty bull that had once carried Europa and now rampaged the countryside. He wrestled the beast to the ground and subdued it without harm. Upon return, Eurystheus again cowered in fear and released the bull, which later roamed to Marathon, becoming another legend in Greek lore. In Thrace, the savage king Diomedes fed his horses human flesh. These man-eating mares were a symbol of tyranny. Hercules confronted the king and his men, defeated them, and calmed the horses not through force, but by offering them new leadership and guidance. Some myths say he fed Diomedes to them, others say he simply removed the cruel influence. Either way, The mares were tamed and delivered. These deadly, bronze-beaked birds haunted the forests of Stymphalia, attacking travelers and devouring crops. Hercules, unable to see through the thick canopy, used a divine rattle gifted by Athena to startle them into flight. As they burst from the trees, he shot them down with arrows tipped in Hydra blood. The skies fell silent once more. For this labor, Hercules was to retrieve the magical belt of Hippolyta, queen of the Amazons. Upon arriving, Hippolyta admired Hercules and agreed to give the belt peacefully. But Hera, disguised as an Amazon, spread rumors of betrayal. A battle broke out. Though Hercules was victorious, the cost was high. He took the belt, but mourned the misunderstanding and the loss of potential peace. Far to the west lived Geryon, a giant with 3 bodies. Hercules crossed deserts, erected the pillars of Hercules at Gibraltar, and faced monstrous guardians. With arrows dipped in Hydra's blood, he slew Geryon and herded the red cattle back through lands of danger, returning them to Tyrants. This task led Hercules to the edge of the world, where golden apples of immortality grew, guarded by nymphs and the dragon Ladon. On the way, he encountered Prometheus, bound in chains. With a single arrow, Hercules freed him, an act of mercy that would be remembered by the gods. Reaching the garden, Hercules persuaded Atlas to fetch the apples while he held up the sky in Atlas's place. When Atlas returned, he tried to trick Hercules into bearing the heavens forever, but with cunning, Hercules feigned agreement, then tricked Atlas into taking the sky back. With apples in hand, he returned. The final labor was the most impossible of all: descend into the underworld and bring back Cerberus, the 3-headed guardian of the dead. With Hermes as his guide, Hercules journeyed into Hades. There he met souls of fallen heroes, including his own ancestors. He faced the Furies, spoke with Persephone, and stood before Hades himself. Hercules asked to borrow Cerberus. The god agreed, on one condition: no weapons. Bare-handed, Hercules faced the snarling beast. The struggle shook the caverns of the dead. But eventually, through endurance and strength, he subdued Cerberus and led him to the surface. Eurystheus, paralyzed by fear, begged Hercules to return the creature to the underworld at once. And so he did, gently, respectfully. With all 12 labors completed, Hercules was finally free. But he was more than free, he was transformed. Each labor had carved his soul anew, strength refined into wisdom, power balanced by humility. In time, he continued his adventures, facing trials, wars, and heartbreak. Eventually, poisoned by a tunic soaked in Hydra's blood, he faced death not with fear, but with peace. As flames engulfed his mortal body, the gods looked down with reverence. Zeus welcomed him to Olympus. Hercules, once a man of burden, became a god of protection. Today, his story endures not because of his strength, but because of his choice to rise again and again. To carry burdens no man should bear, and to never surrender to despair, Hercules' 12 labors are more than myths. They are reflections of our own impossible journeys. We all face lions that cannot be harmed, wounds that cannot be seen, and labors that seem too heavy. But like Hercules, we endure. His story teaches that even in our darkest moments, redemption is possible. Even when cursed, we can still rise. Even when the weight is crushing, the human and divine spirit can break through. May we all face our labors not with fear, but with the quiet courage of a hero reborn.